Morning students, how are you? I am Francis and today we are going to study standard 6 chemistry, okay? So this is the fifth chapter of this book and the chapter's name is separation of substances, okay? So in this chapter we will be studying what are the different ways by which we can separate substances, okay? But before we go to this separation process, we should try to understand what are the different types of substances and why do we need separation, okay? So substances can generally be classified into two types. The first one is the impure substance and the second one is a pure substance. A pure substance is made up of only one kind of material. Okay? So pure substances are made up of only one kind of materials. Okay? So that's why they are called pure. But whereas impure, they are made up of more than one. They are made up of more than one type of materials. They are made up of more than one type of material. So that is the difference between pure and impure. Pure substances are made up of only one kind of material, whereas impure substances are made up of more than one type of material. Means there are various other components are present. Various types of components are present in an impure substance. Okay. So now talk about that. This impure substance can be also called as mixtures. Because more than one types of substance are present, so they are called mixtures. Mixture of two or more substances. Mixture of two or more substances. So these mixtures can be categorized into two parts again: the homogeneous mixtures and the heterogeneous mixtures. Okay. So these homogeneous mixtures are the types of mixtures, yes, in which the components are uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. The very good example of it can be said to as you can say tea. Yes, a very good example you can say as tea. T-E-A-T. Okay. So this tea, you take the first sip or you take the last sip. You know, you will have the same taste. Or you can talk about that. What do you say? Cold drinks or soft drinks. You know, all these have the same taste because they are uniform, because all the components are uniformly distributed. Yes, so these are the examples of, you can say in simple way, you can say lime water. Lime water means, you know, that lemon water, you know, lemon juice that you make at home. That is also a very good example of homogeneous mixture. Okay, means all the components are equally distributed throughout the mixture. Okay, so this type of mixtures are called homogeneous mixtures. Now we have the other type of mixtures which are called the heterogeneous mixtures. Okay, so these heterogeneous mixtures, what are they? These are the type of mixture in which the components are not uniformly distributed. Not uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. Okay, so the components are not distributed throughout the mixture. So we can take the example of, you know, this mud. If you take the handful of mud in your hand, you will see that the mud has different varieties of components, but in one ratio. But if you take the same mud from the other place second time, you will have different composition. You will have different composition. So this mud can be termed to as heterogeneous mixture. Okay, or you can talk about, there are so many varieties of heterogeneous mixture. Okay, so means generally this homogeneous mixtures are less, whereas whatever mixture you see are generally heterogeneous mixtures. Okay, so that is the case. So what is the difference? Basically, these are homogeneous are uniformly distributed, whereas the components in heterogeneous are not uniformly distributed. So these are the different varieties of mixtures. Okay. And since because we have mixtures and there are some substances which are useful. There are substances that are useful and we need to attain this useful substance. So what do we need to do? If they are in the form of mixture or they are mixed with some another substance, we need to separate them. So this when we have the mixtures and we need separation, there are two possibilities. First one, the need for separation. Why do we need separation? Presence of one or more useful substance. If in a mixture there are more than one useful substance present, we need to separate all of them so that we could use them separately in their respective way. For example, we have this petroleum. This petroleum is a mixture consisting of so many different types of hydrocarbons, and all the different types of hydrocarbons are useful here. All the different types of hydrocarbons are useful and we use them. And so we need to separate them before using. For example, if we want LPG, we need to separate LPG from petroleum. Then we need petrol, we need to separate petrol. We need diesel, we need to separate diesel. We need kerosene, we need asphalt, we need bitumen. We need graphene. There are so many varieties of things which we get, and all are useful substances. So sometimes more than one useful substance are present and we need to separate all of them. Okay. Now the second one is presence of one useful and one or more harmful or unuseful substance. We can say harmful or unuseful. Okay. Unuseful. Okay. So harmful and unuseful substance. So yes, there are sometimes, for example, when we after harvesting, when the hay dries up along with that paddy, so what happens? We beat them on the rocks. So what happens is that hay is separated from that rice grain. And even though there are some hay still left with that rice hay, so what do? We take it and we do winnowing. We separate them. You might have seen this winnowing process, hand picking and all winnowing. This is a photograph you can see in your page number 66. Page number 66. This is a very good. This is called winnowing. So sometimes we have one useful and we have one unuseful substance. Okay, so we need to separate the unuseful substance from the useful substance so that we could process the useful substance and use it in a proper way. Okay, so this was you can consider it to be as the introduction of this chapter today. So I want you to study through this chapter and what are the different points regarding mixture, substance, homogeneous mixture, heterogeneous mixture, need for separation. I want you to go through this and a little bit more also in this chapter so that it is very easy for you to understand in the next video. So see you in the next video. Good day.